The not number rejector is going to require you to know something that I haven't told you about yet. So you can think about me telling you this now, or I'm going to talk about it in the lab next week. So let's get into this and see what it is. So let's read what's going on. Ask for a number repeatedly until actually given one. Ask for a number, and if the response is actually not a number, e.g. cow, the word 6, or a string with an 8 in it and an exclamation mark, then throw it out and ask for an actual number. When you do get a number, return it. So if we look at how we handled the stubborn asker, we were using this while loop. So we can whiz round the while loop, and until we're happy, keep running through the while loop until something works. So let's take this bit. Take this bit to be the message, and we'll kind of start from here. So message, give me a number, because we don't care about whether the number is big or whether it's small or anything like that. We just care about whether we're going to get an actual number, and we know we're going to need a while loop, so let's just put it in here. While true. And you see how my auto completion fills in a bunch of the stuff for me here. I don't have to write a lot of code if I'm using my autocomplete correctly. Right, let's get rid of some of these linter errors. And right, so while true, what do we want to do? So we can go up here and we can take that and we'll paste that in there, and then that's fine. That's everything we need to do, except we don't know if it's going to be giving us a good result or not. So let's test that, and this is going to run infinitely, so I'm going to have to break out of it, but let's give it a go. So stubborn asker is asking, so let's satisfy stubborn asker because it's still sitting there. 35, good. And then not number rejector didn't actually do anything. So what did we do wrong there? So not number rejector, while true. I didn't save it. Classic mistake. So you can see if, I'll show you in a second. Print input number. We'll go back there. So that was because I didn't put brackets on. So I'm just going to put those brackets on without switching windows. There we go. Stubborn asker, 35, 34 even. Give me a number. 4. 4 is a number. 5 is a number. 66 is a number. Hello is not a number, and we get an error message and it freaks out. And if we just read this through, we get a value error, specifically a value error. Remember that. Invalid literal for int with base 10, and it's saying hello is not a word. We can't convert hello into an integer with base 10. Sometimes, so there are a few words which only use the first 5 letters of the alphabet, like A, B, C, D, E, and F, 6 letters. For those are used in hexadecimal. Sometimes those will really confuse computers, but I think Python's probably okay with it. But just be aware that if you've only got hexadecimal letters, you might get something weird. So let's switch back to this and see what goes on. So pop that back up onto the top. And so Python has, and a lot of modern programming languages have this really nice idea called a try. So you want to try that, and you need to pair it with an except. Except right, so now if we save that and try that whole process again, say, let's go through that, satisfy it. Give me a number. 5, yes. 4, no. 2, what? Hello. So this isn't really giving us a lot of information, it's just failing, which is kind of not that useful. So something we can do here, we can say except exception, and that will allow us to use it. And we'll just say as e, because that's just a lot simpler to do. And then we can actually bung the exception on the end of what we print, so we can read what happens with the exception. So if we save that, and we're going to have to jump out of that, so Control C. Ooh, interesting. Control D. No. Right, this is interesting. So this is something to just sort of think about. I've never noticed this before, but it seems that you can't jump out of a try catch loop unless you are catching the right sort of errors. And because we're not printing the errors, you can't see what those errors are. So I'm going to have to shut this terminal down. So let's do that. And I'm going to start another one. CD projects git code 1161 base Python week 3 exercise 1.py. Boop. There we go. 35. Give me a number. Now, if we say 35, 35 is a number. 3 is a number. 3 is not a number. And so now we're getting somewhere with these error messages. 3 is a useful error message. If we press Control C, now we're actually jumping out properly. So it's a bit safer to handle things that way, it seems. Good to know. But if we look here, it's saying you what, invalid literal. This is the same message we got before. So we're getting an error message. Now, if we switch back to our code editor, into Atom, if we look at the pattern we had here, while true, do something. If it's right, return it. If it's not right, ask again. So let's have the same pattern here. So we could put, let's make the message a bit better. Try again, and then we can pop the error message into there. And it's always good to give good error messages. This is a terrible SMS error message because it's not really an error message. If it was actually an error message, then we could say, we could try and be really descriptive, and we could also try and capture the specific exception. So we're currently capturing any old exception. We could stack it up so that we say except, I could spell EXCEPT value error, and if you remember, I'll just copy it in here from our error message. We got a value error, invalid literal for int. So let me don't have it anymore because we closed it, but we could as v like that, and then we could say print b, and then we would have different things happening if we had different types of exception. But we're not too fussed about different types of exception right now because there's only really one way this could go wrong. So different types of exception are more when you're writing more complex functions that have different possibilities of ways of going wrong. So we want a better input number message, so we'll copy that from up there. And we also want to return the input number. So if we save that, let's give that a go. This is the nice thing about programming with tests is that you don't have to know it's going to work. You just try it. You can just try it out. So Control L clears the screen, which is really nice. Python week 3 exercise 1. Give me a number. 35. That's happy. Not number rejector. Sheep. Sheep is not a number. 2. 2 is not the right type of number. What about 88? Thanks, 88 looks good. And then it moves on, it passes. So that's how I would do it. And we haven't talked about try catch statements or try except catch statements in Python, but they are probably the easiest way to solve this problem.